Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets, joined once again by Rafael Conquista. So the little agreement that we have with the Hamas, stop fighting. It's pretty much on shaky grounds. What do you think about Israel and United States? What do you think is going to happen?
Ooh. Pandora. Nothing's going to work out over there. I see in the prophets anyway, from what I'm seeing is Trump, like he's been doing, something's going to go south, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Saudi. I'm thinking probably Iran, that he's going to go back into the Middle East big time, everywhere that he needs to, and get it situated, get it settled. So like big fight over there. Time-wise, between now and spring. That's kind of what I'm seeing. I'll bring the scriptures and sort of organize them for you. But that's what I'm seeing. Matter of fact, then I have like I think I mentioned to you that I see also that Israel, I kind of view Israel like we've talked about as sort of the leadership of Israel is similar to what we've experienced, like deep state. and so I'm seeing what I think is Israel in the book of Obadiah, and it's written to Edom. And I'd like to share that real quick.
Okay.
So Father says, a messenger or an ambassador has been sent to the nations. And I believe that those nations are like maybe the UN or even the BRICS nations. And this ambassador says, time to get up, arise, and let us rise up against her for battle. And I think the her is America. And he says, see, I have made, and this sort of defines who it really could be. I have made you small among the nations, and you are greatly despised among the nations generally. I think it could be Netanyahu himself being that ambassador, going to the BRICS and saying it's time to go attack America. And then he talks about down here, Michael, he says, because of the violence against your brother Jacob, America, let shame cover you, and you shall be cut off forever. In the day that you stood on the other side, the wrong side, in the day that strangers took captive his wealth, when foreigners entered his gates and cast lots for Jerusalem, I believe is America, you were one of them. And you should have not looked on your brother's day in the day of his estrangement, nor rejoiced over the children of the believing crowd. It says Yehuda, and I can prove that Yehuda in scriptures is pretty much modern Christendom in America. You shouldn't have rejoiced over the day of their destruction and made your mouth large. So they're bragging about something in the day of his distress. And nor should you have stood at the parting of the way to cut off his fugitives from escaping, nor handed over his survivors in the day of his distress. That's like even saying he's like Israel, looks like, I believe it's Israel, is going to help seal the borders so nobody can get out. When I believe like there's a coming war to America after the Middle East war. So, I know that's Pandora. And I think I'm probably a lone voice in saying that, but that's just what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's kind of tough for everybody because we see a lot of people see Israel as a threat. We've got plenty of reasons to believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think they're such a small country, such a small number of people. I just think they're a puppet. They're just the deep state decided, okay, we're gonna put some foundations here, and from here we'll go out and create or whatever, control, conquer the world, control the world.
Yeah.
So the Nazis sent a lot of Jews from Germany to Israel.
Right. Right.
And the Nazis sent a lot of people to America.
Right.
And
Yes.
Argentina and a
South
lot
America. Right.
throughout South America. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I pray otherwise, but I'm seeing, and I could be wrong, and I hope I'm totally wrong, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. And so we'll see. Things are happening so fast, and it's just incredible. And also, I think you followed this, that like, and I know others, Tucker and others are showing how Netanyahu is like after speech here, like moving massively with the deep state to censor us, even talking about Israel, and
Yeah.
it probably got kicked wide open with Charlie Kirk's murder thing,
Yeah.
or that whole event. Yeah. So yeah, lots of chaos.
So we've heard Israel will be saved for last, and we've also heard that all nations will turn against Israel. So maybe that's why everyone sees Israel for what they are, and we all turn against them, and they're saved for last. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, because I think like true Israel migrated here and not there.
Yeah.
I think at least the 11 or 12. Well, there's more. There's more Yehudim, or there's more Jews in the United States than there is in Middle East Israel. So technically, even America should be called Israel, just based on the amount of Jews here in New York and stuff. But I think the migratory history and even the scriptures now are like becoming more clear and more clear. Like Daniel said, at the end, it'll be revealed to you, but not until then. The end of this eon of time where, and I think we're starting to see, like, just in the last probably 7 months, I've like, wait a minute, as I'm looking through all the prophets, I always thought that was just old, boring stuff written for a bunch of old guys, centuries, millennium ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm seeing it's just coming off the pages that it's actually written for maybe perhaps more at the end of this era, this eon, than at any other time. And it's just fascinating me. And it's not like it doesn't talk in language. It's more in parables. It doesn't talk in language like I would want them to say, just, those guys are deep state and that kind of stuff. It doesn't. So I have to look into it, like things like it says, I've made you small among the nations and you're greatly despised. Couldn't have anything to do with how they behave, but they still are greatly despised.
Totally. So, I mean, we look back in biblical scripture, and everyone thinks that Israel is like some kind of holy land all the way. No, the Canaanites ruled Israel, and they were child sacrificers, and they were cannibals. All right. And so that was one of the things that God wanted the people of Israel. There's actually a people that were called that.
Yes.
To go in and free the land from those types of people.
Right.
But they weren't successful. They didn't kill all the giants. They didn't kill everyone, and they took some of their ways. Remember how Abraham was about to sacrifice his child, and the angel stopped him? So, I mean, we see this information throughout the Bible, and that land is not sacred land. Those people are not chosen, right?
Right.
They just happen to, well, maybe the people here in America are chosen because they're pretty much the remnants of Israel, the Israelites, right?
Yeah. So, claiming to be an Israelite I think is primarily what maybe has happened. Like, it's almost like I've often asked, I ask a lot of questions. So I've asked like, so what is it that the Pope, for example, like he's this big religious king because um, like Adolf said, he said, if you tell a big enough lie long enough, people will just believe it.
Yeah.
So like just claiming that I'm the Pope or I'm this world's religious leader and then having enough people act like it, having enough media support, where it just becomes reality and it's not even true. And I think in large part that's happened in the Middle East. Like we're Israel. And like you said, even the land in history, in ancient history, the landmass was never called Israel. Israel was always a people. And it was Canaan and it was these other Middle East names, but it wasn't called Israel. So it was, I think that was part of the marketing. But the people of Israel are they have very high qualifications. These are followers of Yeshua and believers in Yeshua, and everybody else is a Gentile, basically, or an unbeliever. And so even though, you know, many of them I consider my brothers in the Middle East land, they don't believe like I do, and they would consider me, in at least in the Babylonian Talmudic Judaism, I would be like a pig. You can't even talk about Yeshua. He walked through that land. And, you know, if you believe the scripture on Yeshua and was sacrificed and rose from the dead and all this stuff, but you can't even talk about him in Middle East Israel, which is very fascinating.
No, because he's not accepted. He's not part of the Jews. They don't see him as the savior, not like Christians do. So, and then there's someone put in that Abraham's faith was being tested. At what time in your life or anyone you know, what did they lay out their son and were about to sacrifice him and just went for it because they were told to do it?
Yeah.
Never. All right. So that's Canaanite guys. So the Canaanites are basically with us now. They're the ones that are in power, and people fear them. That's why Abraham, I believe, was going to sacrifice his child and said, screw that. And they came up with this crazy story about, you know, angel stopped him and all that kind of stuff. And maybe the angel did. I don't know. I've had angel experiences too, so I'm not going to like discount it. But from that point on, that's the Abrahamic religions were born, because he said, I'm not going to sacrifice my own child. Right. So from that point on, that rebellion created, you know, Judaism to a great extent. So now we're seeing all these different religions that spawned from that rebellion from the Luciferians, from the Canaanites, and it's just a back and forth. Who has the most power? That's what we're seeing in Israel. We're seeing they're trying to play like we're like the good guys, you know, that the angel that came and stopped the sacrifice. No, they're still doing that stuff. They even have that thing about they're going to sacrifice the red heifer. That should be like indication to everyone that this stuff is not over. The Canaanites still are there. Why do you think everybody points to Israel as being evil? I have been throughout the Middle East. If you had even a sliver of connection to being a Jew or Israel or something, you would have a mob descend on you and try to kill you.
Right.
I mean, it sounds funny, but it's true. I've seen the mobs. There was a guy that I work with. He's kind of a knucklehead, and of course
I think I know him.
He worked. Yeah, everyone knows a knucklehead, but this guy, he didn't listen to us. He was on his own plan, you know, and he was a direct. He was part of the CIA, so I was a direct hire. So those of us who direct hire didn't get the lobotomy. So I was able to think for myself, right? So some of the guys that work for the CIA were kind of hard to work with. So this guy, he wore this stuff and we were like, dude, you can't wear that. You're looking like you look like a Jew. And he's like, F that. I don't care. It's like, well, they found out. Their car stalled, and they were surrounded. And it was like they almost had to get out of the car and start shooting people. It was they went into rage mode. All right, so I've seen this all throughout the Middle East. So they do not like the Canaanites, right, at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have representing there, unfortunately, in Israel. And not everybody understands that.
Yeah.
Let's take, I was just listening to Juan O'Savin. He was discussing Halloween. Halloween is on the 31st, which in reverse is 13. So we know they like these crazy numbers.
Yes.
That's their high sacrifice day.
Right.
So in the past, they had sacrifice, and they had gourds and all these different things, and they would carve out these gourds. And if they came by your house and you gave them something for sacrifice, the priest, because everybody fears the priest. Everybody fears, I guess, Israel, because they're the chosen, right? So if they came by your house and want to sacrifice, what does Israel want sacrifice from us? They want American soldiers to fight for them around the Middle East.
Everything, like really, they want.
Yeah, our
weapons,
children. They want our children to be sacrificed. Because who fights the wars? Children, right?
That's right.
I know, because I was 18-year-old when I went in the Navy. So anyway, they want the children sacrificed, and I'm like, we got to stop this. We got to figure this out. So anyway, he was talking about how the pumpkin, Halloween, is their. Everyone knows it's like a witches and warlock and all that stuff day.
High holy day, yeah.
We can make it for us. It's not like that. We'll just give out the candy and we'll dress up as like ghouls, but that's not really what we don't believe in any of that. Oh, okay. So the pumpkin, you would have it carved out and ready. So when they came by, they would ask you for either an animal or one of your children or something. And if it was good, they liked it. They were dragging a body that had fat, and they would take the fat from the body that they're going to sacrifice, and they would put it inside the gourd, the pumpkin head that was carved out, jack-o'-lantern, and they would light it so that when the next group came through, which were the warrior class, if they saw that you had a jack-o'-lantern that was lit, they're like, okay, they paid their dues and they went on. If they came by and a jack-o'-lantern wasn't lit, they would like descend on that house and take whatever they wanted. So that created fear. So you gave to the priest a sacrifice. So we're still sacrificing to this crazy group.
Yeah, we really are. So like
waking up to it, it's just it's this conversation that we're having that helps people, break free. Not everybody, of course, but for the most part, a lot of people are breaking free.
Definitely your listeners are, because it's like they see it. When I get to talk to them one-on-one, they're like, they're sharp, they're seeing it, they're listening to you. Yeah, it's great. But and I think that's like Obadiah that I just read. He talks about Esau, but Esau married the Canaanites. He had Canaanite wives. So that's who it is. And that's the coat of arms through all of these like BRICS nations, and even really Israel leadership, and even to a large degree, American politics and judiciary and stuff like that. Matter of fact, Michael, like if you go like read Jeremiah, where El was showing him what was going on in the temple, it was unbelievable. It was stuff like you've described about these child sacrifices, child molestations and abuses, blood drinking, flesh eating. All of those things were going on then as well, from the same lineage of beings. Yeah.
We haven't done Halloween in a long time. We just shut the doors and turn the lights off, and we don't have any part of it. So, and we're not so much into Christmas either, but we do celebrate it for Christ, and we don't celebrate it for like you know, the materialistic side. So it's ingrained, you know, it's really hard.
Very hard.
You know, I love the season time and what it represents.
Yeah.
You know, that focus. It's absolutely incredible. But it is descended into something that's not kosher. Right?
Yeah, literally not kosher. Well, you got to pay for it if you want kosher.
Right.
Sort of like the pumpkin crew. They come by, and if you didn't do your kosher thing, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But for sure, it's when my that 8th generation back, my great grandfather came over from Basel, Switzerland, into Philly, and for like, I don't know how long, like well over a century after that, Christmas and Halloween were illegal. The Puritans, the believers, the followers of Yeshua and the scriptures, then they knew it was like not what the Father wanted, so they were like, it's illegal. And as the deep state started taking control of government, we started going, you know, it's okay. It's commercial and it feels good. And I think that's part of the hard thing is, you know, having such great times when I was a kid, like partying for Halloween or not thinking about what it was about, or Christmas, good feelings. And that's hard to break away from reality of really what's going on in the earth and in the spiritual dimension from how we felt about it as children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Jay Tiger's saying we've never celebrated Halloween and only Christ on the 25th and his resurrection in spring. So, I mean, that's really the way it should roll.
Yeah.
The, you know, merchandising and materialization of those it's definitely a demonic thing.
And I also found another scripture. I should have had that prepped today too, that showed that who I believe also is Middle East Israel basically saying to its brother in America, we're just stealing everything. We're going to suck you dry of your money, of everything that you'll give to us. And our politicians have been pretty helpful at doing that for generations. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's getting to the point where, you know, we have to, like, you know, really break free of a lot of this stuff. A lot of things are changing.
Yeah.
But will it be at a rate that is going to save us? Because I think we're really on the cusp of you know, everything, you know, collapsing.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing like a lot of cities right now, Portland, Chicago, and in LA, you know, the riots, supporting illegal. So it's criminal, supporting criminal activity, illegal aliens here in America.
Yeah.
Which we know there's a lot of people that were in those groups that came in, the millions of people that were allowed to come into America that are literally terrorist groups and so forth. So there is a movement to try and get those people out. But you're seeing, you know, governors and mayors that are pushing back. And those are just 3 cities. And, you know, we've seen a lot of ICE agents and, you know, National Guard now that are being activated to go in and help. But it just keeps dragging on and it gets worse. I saw a report where there are communities in Chicago that are like on a group chat where if they see ICE come into the neighborhood, they let everybody know so they can resist.
Incredible.
Good. And these are just 3 cities so far.
Yeah.
We're going to see this in a lot more cities going forward. You may, I know a lot of us think that, not me, because I've been in combat, I know how this works, but a lot of people think that President Trump is going to come in with the National Guard and crush this. Look at LA, it's still going on. How long has it been? Months. How much longer is it going to be? Same thing in Portland. It's been, they were already rioting for like over 100 days when they started to, you know, really, you know, come in a little bit
Yeah.
heavier.
Yep.
In Chicago is like they're openly saying resist.
Which is, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, infinite felonies, just infinite.
Infinite, yeah.
And it's all by design to do this, to conquer God's kids, really, and what they've stood for 3 centuries or longer in their concept of rights and scriptural governance and all that stuff. They hate it. And they don't even, I think it was Denise who reached out to me like 2 days ago and showed me, it might have been something you shared. It was about like in Portland where they're just naked and they're laying on the freeway or on the streets, blocking everything in sort of a protest. And it was hard for me to believe, Michael, that was actually happening in this land that we live in, like people stripping down naked and laying in protest of ICE trying to do their job. Unbelievable. Like mind numbing. Like I don't have a place that registers in my mind or my soul for that kind of thing. Just beyond me. And yet, so these creators, this Canaanite, Edomite, these deep staters, this is how they've managed to get. I don't know. So it's like that's going to be. I just don't see it being successful ever. When you're swimming against that kind of downstream flow of evil and just inability to connect to the spiritual realm. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So like we're talking about, it's coming from, Israel, and it's influencing us. And then again, it's influencing, all aspects of our society.
Right.
We have politicians that are supporting this evil and so forth and on and on and on.
It is very deep.
Yeah. And then we have the bioweapon attacks that have happened to us. So there's a lot of stuff coming at us to overcome.
This year, in my mind, Michael, is going to be massive. From here till next time this year, massive. I think it's going to be all revealed to us, and we're going to see it all. I don't know how you feel about the timeline, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, like from now into spring, it's going to be pretty hectic.
Yeah,
but it's not going to stop. It's going to continue, like we're talking about.
Right.
So the World Health Organization invents 20K new diseases.
Yeah, I think I'll share my screen on this one, so everybody can kind of see what's going on with this. This really comes out of, so when these deep staters like the CDC and NIH and all these guys do this, Fauci's stuff and World Health Organization, which was created by really the American deep state. So they put out these reports, and this one's called World Health Statistics 25, Monitoring Health for the Sustainable Development Goals for, obviously the world's health. So in this report, which is like, I don't know, about 100 pages, they talk about 20,000 different types of disease diagnosis. Now, like last week or the week before, I mentioned 10,000 on the CDC site. So there's 20,000 in here. And I'm like, just imagining how do they have teams of like people who just sit around, almost like the media manipulation, where they have teams of people who sit around and create different types of diseases? How do you get 20,000 different types of diseases? So, because the way I look at it and the way I'm testing with, body scans and quantum forensics and stuff, it's very base. We just aren't influenced by 20,000 different issues. Mm-hmm. And I think in large part, it's designed to keep us in like eternal confusion, fear. Eternal dependence, and just ongoing fear of some new disease or new diagnosis. But I just felt like I had to share that because like it's so, again, it's one of those monster, bizarre, revelations that this is what we've received, been spoon fed for a couple generations now, and it's like so out of control. And when we looked through that report from Pfizer, on just in the first couple pages, you remember the report that the court made Pfizer release on the side effects from the Pfizer shot? The initial report was like 1,200 different disease diagnostics, just different side effects from the shot. And this is part of this. So we know that part of this diagnostic sort of frothing at the mouth frenzy that goes on is from they can create these types of reactions by the different toxins, the different poisons they're putting in the shots, the different areas of the body that biofilm affects, or pesticides or impurities in our water or radiation. It can create myriads of different symptoms that get labeled as a disease. And then, like so many doctors that we've talked about, they get arrested for treating diseases that don't even exist. It's just a title for a different symptom. So anyway, I thought people might maybe like to get a view of this, because I think in this sustainable development goal, Michael, this is set for like a complete, almost global takeover by 2030. It includes digital IDs and being like connected to maybe AI and everything else that they're rolling out through 5 and 6G tech. And so I'm like, it's just like, this is insane.
So COVID VAX bioweapon. Like
This is a great one. So this is the first time I picked this up this week, that the Alliance of Indigenous Nations, so it's all the Indian nations have their own separate nations, have their own separate courts, separate legal apparatus. And so in their tribunals, in their courts, they found in their courts that here's what they said in their courts. And in their statement, they put out that the tribunal finds and hereby declares that COVID-19 injections, mRNA injections, or mRNA nanoparticle injections are in fact biological and technological weapons of mass destruction. The tribunal finds and hereby declares that the COVID-19 nanoparticle injections, or biological weapons and weapons of mass destructions, according to the Biological Weapons Anti-Terrorism Act, America's, Weapons and Firearms Act, Canada's Biological and Toxins Act, California's, everybody's, that they're saying that it applies. And so I thought this was fascinating. And also it parallels with what the Surgeon General of Florida, let me find him, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, called the COVID shot a poison in his paperwork. And I think, the state of Florida is about the only state that's even come out and said anything remotely like this. But I felt like, I think this is important because I believe, because it's the American indigenous nations, the American Indian tribes, have international treaties where their court systems, along with America and other nations, they've all done international agreements to accept each other's rulings in courts. It's like it's bilateral agreements on court findings. So these court findings from the American Indian nations can be utilized in other American courts. And I guess my feeling on that, go ahead.
That's huge going forward.
I'm sorry?
It can set precedents.
Yeah, it sort of sets precedents, I felt like, for individuals who got the injection. Like, we've talked a lot about being personally responsible and going after these people. And I think under Trump in this administration is probably the most favorable time in my lifetime, at least, to be able to do this. And here's a really great tool for people to use if they want to go and take the information, because a lot of the supporters of this, I know you've interviewed some of them. Here's a huge list of doctors like Boyle and Rima Labo and many others are listed in here for their science being produced into this case. And so it could be used in your case if you're going after like Pfizer or Gilead. Fascinating vaccine and pharmaceutical manufacturer who was involved in the COVID bioweapons as well. So this could be utilized by anybody in their case if they want to do a case. There's some good boilerplates and super support. There's already evidence produced here for you. And I put that in the Hogans Heroes blog. If you guys want to get in there, you can join it for free. If not, and those of you are already in there. So this is already in there if you want to get in and read it and use all the information.
Oh, cool.
And utilize it for your own case if you decide to do that. Yeah.
Perfect. So, they started to press people to do COVID, and they were coming on indigenous lands. I don't think they were very successful in the United States, but in Canada, they really were pressing hard on the Canadian Indians, indigenous, and the same thing in Australia. So I remember they were like, using that law that and I don't think the Australians had much success because the Australian government was so aggressive. But that will be fantastic because, like you said, it's international. So if they can get that started, there will be tribunals for lawfare against big pharma, which, as we know, is also part of a Nazi system, because Mengele and all those guys.
Yes.
Australia. So
back to that, the Canaanite Esau Edomites. Yeah. No, I think so too. And I've said for a long time, if you guys, anybody touches you, even if you're a defendant, I really believe strongly in becoming a claimant or a plaintiff. You always have to countersue or get to the punch before they get to you. And it's incredibly powerful when you become a plaintiff, and you now have, because if I can just take a second, just kind of describe this, Michael, a lot of times the people that are coming after you are the low guys on the totem pole, and they'll always hang them out to dry. So when you have the power to depose somebody who's threatened you or come after you or hurt you in any way, like even a school superintendent who says your kid has to get vaccinated, boom, there's your lawsuit. Because once you get them on the stand and depose them and they're your witness and you own them, you own their ass. And they're going to answer your questions. And I'm telling you, if you have the right questions, they can't do it. They're going to lose. They cannot answer your questions if they're properly crafted.
Yeah. Georgie Kane here says the indigenous Aboriginals in Australia were arrested. They arrested them and injected them against their will.
Yeah.
So she's calling it medical rape, which is I think that's pretty spot on.
And medical kidnapping, because they're keeping you against your will.
Yep.
That's one of the beautiful things about what we still have here is this, at least there's like a perception of the Constitution and the original founding instruments. But I'm pretty much sure in every culture, in every nation, you have the opportunity to countersue or become a plaintiff. And even if you don't have a proper constitution, just that power of being able to do that. I've done it when I didn't know what I was doing, and I saw judges running out of the courtroom because of it.
Yeah. I don't know where, Melanie, I don't know where you're at, but that was a big issue for a lot of firemen.
Yeah.
They were depending on the state and the city and so forth. But yeah, there were, and that was so crazy. And their argument, I remember at the time, was very valid. before the vaccinations came out, they were going and helping everybody that was, had problems during, the COVID, bioweapon attack. So they were helping everybody. So they're already out there. And so they probably built up an immunity. So if they're like, hey, I don't want to take the shot, they should have been like, no problem. They should have been like Congress, who got to decide if they got the shot or not as well. Right. So yeah, really, really tough times that still need to have people held accountable. And we should not forget this. And we keep pushing some kind of angle, and this indigenous tribes angle may be the one, hopefully.
Well, you sure can use it in something called a mandatory judicial notice, which means a judge has to take mandatory notice. It's not discretionary for him. He can't go, no, I don't want to listen to that. So when you bring information, even from another tribunal that's accepted by international agreement, it's the same thing as bringing a case or an American law as well. And the judge has to take judicial notice of it. And it can get really, really strong. That's really powerful for you to be able to do that. But we still I think they want to do it again, Michael. This deep state thing is very deep. And they know how to be like a chameleon. I feel like they know how to use others to do their dirty work and sit back and wait for other opportunities. And
yeah, well, 80% of Americans got vaccinated. So we know that through their fear and intimidation practices, Melanie is just saying her entire family turned against them.
Yeah.
Why? So this is part of the conditioning that happened. You can see MK Ultra practices where they would bring in people and they were like, okay, you're going to press this button and you're going to apply a very slight shock to this person that gets an answer wrong. And people would do it. And it was not really doing it, but there was an actor on the other side, and they were screaming, and the people would be like, what? I thought you said it wasn't going to hurt them that much. And then it's like, no, you have to keep doing it. I'll take responsibility. You just keep doing it. So people would keep doing it. So, and then we'd see, these studies where they would have these figures of, lines that were like, certain height. And you were supposed to pick which line was out of line. And so people that weren't part of the actors, they'd come in and they would be like, line 3, and everybody else would look at them like, no, it's line 2. Yeah, it's line 2. It's like, and line 2 was like it wasn't right. But eventually that person would be, line 3. They just go along with it. And that's what we saw with COVID. People just went along with it. And then they became those people pushing the buttons. Where's your mask? 6 feet apart.
Right.
Unbelievable.
They became the director.
Vaccinated. You can't be around us if you're not vaccinated.
Yeah. Self-fulfilling, because we bought into it, and because we didn't stand together, they got it. Otherwise, they would have lost if we had stood together. We're not very good at that. Like,
they've had thousands of years of doing this.
Yeah,
like
they have.
About the Canaanites, right? That's.
But you think in those thousands of years we'd figure this out by now? We still haven't.
Some of us do, and we try to tell everybody else, but they don't listen. So
yeah, for sure. It reminds me of a story I heard from a friend who was a marriage and family therapist, and he said in school they weren't allowed to do this, but some of him and his classmates got together. And in some of their therapy classes, their psychology classes, he said what they did was all the guys in class, they must have done this over beer. I could imagine you and I working on something like this together. So what they did was they said, every time the teacher does this, totally act disinterested, start making noise, chew your gum, drink your Coke, make noise, look away. And then when he moved to this certain area of the room, give them attention, focus, ask questions, you know, make them feel good. They said by the end of like 3 weeks, just a few days of classroom, he was sitting on the oil heater in the corner of the room, because that's where they gave him the most attention. And so there's like this emotional aspect to it too. If we're like rejected or like we feel threatened or not loved, it's hard. And I understand that, because we need that like sort of team support. And so, I mean, but it's time now, because we're waking up that we can't do that anymore. It's like a life and death situation now.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, bless you. That's right. That's all it is. Common cold, which they don't even know because they can't find a virus.
So they just call it common cold. Oh, it's a common cold. And there was someone else that said they were going to the store, and the pharmacies in the store, and the seniors are lining up for their flu shots. But that's common. I remember I used to talk to people about this all the time. It says, I haven't been vaccinated, and I can't even remember. They made
You're gonna die.
for you know, right? When I was in the military, they made us get all kind of shots, and then we figured out that all we got to do is like say no, and then just write it off. And if we get the right person to write it off, we just don't do them. And so I tell people that, and it's like, those things are dangerous. Everyone that not everyone, but I remember people when I was working in the CIA, we were like in where were we at? Lebanon. No, not Lebanon. It was in what's a Benghazi, where they had Benghazi, Libya. So Libya, I'm in Libya, and it was around the time frame where bird flu stuff was like, there was a big scare at the time. So they had vaccines for the bird flu, and they had them in refrigerators. Like, they put it out. Anyone that wants the vaccine for the bird flu, we can give it to you. And we're all like hardcore guys. We're like, that's stupid. No way. And so one of the case officers got vaccinated and got sick, bad sick. And he couldn't understand it. And we're like, so so we're trying to help him, you know. We're like, okay, so you were healthy before the vaccination? Yeah. And then you got the vaccination, and now you're like super, super sick. He's like, yeah, maybe it's that vaccination.
You think?
We and then you leave it, but it's like, wow.
Yeah. I've heard that.
People didn't get that, realization soon enough before the COVID vaccination, unfortunately.
Yeah. I've heard that hundreds and hundreds of times. Oh, I got the shot and got sick, and that was the last time they got it. Fortunately, they wised up. Now, I hate to admit, as a young parent, my child got the shot, and I was dumb and intimidated enough, I guess, to do it a second time. No, not anymore, you dads. Time to stop that shit. Sorry.
Nice.
Bioweapons. And so detox them. You guys who have not detoxed them, get into the store and detox them. Take them out. You can do that, and do it with your babies too if you've made that mistake. So it's part of our repentance and turning and doing it right is removing them physically from the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So mRNA shots are now curing cancer, they're claiming, right?
Oh my goodness, you guys got to see this. This is cracking me.
God.
Break. This is MSN, of course, the propaganda channel, but still what they're putting out. So breakthrough discovery paves the way for treating one of the world's most lethal cancers. And I'll just kind of get through this real quick just for you guys to see it. But here it is. Pancreatic cancer. And then they're using, there it is. Using mRNA vaccine trial hope to stimulate the immune system. I'm going to come back to you now because this kind of stuff makes me insane. All right, so
stimulate the immune system, take it over so it will never function correctly ever again. So
It's unbelievable deception, like layers of lies and felonies. So this is part of the base for the whole vaccine things. Well, it stimulates an immune response, and they call it antibodies. And and I'm like, hey, if Michael punches you in the nose, you're going to get a big antibody response from that by itself. I guarantee you. It's like that's how the body works. When something's wrong, when something foreign is in there that's not supposed to be in there, it puts out what are called antibodies. And antibodies are only, it's not part of the immune system in as far as like overcoming and killing something in your body. It only is like a signal for the killer response. So I call antibody responses like putting mustard on your hot dog. It's marking the hot dog for the immune killer cells. But the problem with it is, you guys, it doesn't ever elicit a proper immune response. No vaccine actually elicits a killer response, only an antibody response. And I think largely because for several reasons, the body can't recognize biofilm. It has already, because it's injected, it bypasses our traditional, our normal God-given immune apparatus. And so it doesn't recognize it. Now it's like a super weapon inside our body. But anyway, I had to show that because now they're selling mRNA, the thing that causes 8,000% increase in cancers,
Right.
as a cure for a very lethal type of cancer, pancreatic cancer, which I know everybody's heard of, is like very lethal. And so here we go again.
Yeah.
More of like the tail wagging the dog.
They'll continue to lie and manipulate as long as they can with as many different, like this, mRNA will cure cancer. Who knows what they're going to find something else to lie about too, because they always do this. This is the way they program things in.
Yes.
And I've seen this over and over again with a lot of different things.
Yes.
You know,
everything, right? Everything.
Yeah. I've known about certain things, and I watched the way the media spun it, and I was like, they know that's a lie, and they're spinning it, and they would spin it, and they would spin it, and they would spin it, and it was like all these different like things. It's like every day there was some new spin. It's like, and you see it with Charlie Kirk. You know, every day there was some new way he got killed. You know, so it's and is that the deep state doing that? Maybe. I don't think so, but I think it's been played back on the deep state. But they'll spin things again and again and again and again.
Right.
So once I start to see that, I'm like, okay, this is a deep state operation. Or this is a captured operation by the white hats, and they're spinning it like it's a deep state operation.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's the way I look at Charlie Kirk and President Trump's assassination. Two captured operations that they spun as a deep state operation. So it's very concerning to see that how long people, so like, remember when Biden said, get the shot. He was all passionate about it. You'll be okay. It'll be the only one you need. And then boosters. And he got sick like 3 times, and his wife got sick like 3 times. And like, well, I guess those shots didn't work so good for you, did they? And you pushed
cancer.
And a lot of people had problems from that, and a lot of people died from that.
Yeah.
And you caused a lot of disharmony in American people, because like everybody's saying in here, I didn't get the shots, but my whole family got the shots, and they like ostracized me. I've heard that so many times over the years. It's very sad. And that's part of the conditioning that they did, the brainwashing, that if someone doesn't get it, then they're a threat to you. They don't care about grandma, so it is.
Yes.
It's very frustrating. And I saw grandmas, and they were like, I had to get the shot because my kids said that I couldn't see my grandkids unless I had the shot. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's
So it's all a bullshit lie, all of it.
And I felt like when I, just tagging on to that bullshit lie, that one of the ways for us to discern that it's so important is that when they divide us, that's it. You already know now that it's a deep state satanic project, because we're fighting each other, and they always want that. Always. They want division among us, because if we all say no, they'll probably lie about it, for another decade or so. But if we're saying no and no one's accepting the vaccines, and 30% of us are suing the vaccine manufacturers for injuries, it's over for them.
So I like this one, Gata Colton. What I don't understand is they can kill us by the millions without repercussions, but we can't do the same to them. It would be over in a week if we aligned.
I know.
We aligned, yeah. But you see how hard that is. You see how much information is coming out now about how they've done these illegal programs. I think there was like in Cincinnati, there was like a housing project, and they came into the housing project and they vaccinated, or was it vaccinated, or did some kind, I think it was some kind of testing. Maybe it was vaccination against all these people in the housing project.
Yeah.
And the ones that survived are speaking out now, and they're like disclosing, the U.S. Army came in. The U.S. Army came in and did a vaccination program on these people. Wow. And so more and more of these are being disclosed, but still people are lining up to get their flu shots, lining up to get their free booster shots. It's like somebody's paying for all that.
Well, not your listeners, I tell you that, because even the ones I've talked to, as we're talking about, oral health issues, they're like, oh my goodness, my dad's like, yeah, the awakening is very incredible, and I'm hoping that it's fast enough. I don't know, it just seems too slow and too small. I think you need 10 million listeners would be very helpful.
10 million listeners, yeah. So what's next? What do you think?
I'd like to share something that I think is important. A couple health themes. I'll share my screen on this one. And we tested this, Michael. So we felt like this is actually legit. So this woman giving terrifying heart attack warnings over powerful solar storms that are set to hit without warning. So we don't know when, XYZ class solar flare gets punched out, and so, but what they're doing is they have an excessive. The study shows that during geomagnetic storms, that women are having higher rates of heart attack than anybody else, than men and stuff. So they're more vulnerable. And so I'm going to come back to you and then just talk about it for a few minutes. So in these geomagnetic storms, because I believe primarily because of what they've been doing to the atmosphere in their chem spraying, it's creating opportunities for the more toxic rays of the solar EMFs, the solar plasma, to get through, and creating more stress in our field that normally would be managed by the Earth's magnetic field is now penetrating and getting to us. So we did a few tests on a few women, went out in the sun, and we did some quantum forensics on not just pointing at the sun, but just letting them spend a few minutes in the sun, and their cardiac sacs were going into chaos. And so to get those back on, we had to bring in the EMF Harmonizer with the LifeWave patch at X39 at C7. And that will restore coherence and create the way it works is the EMF Harmonizer creates its own like Earth shield. And so even though you might measure it, which would be the sun as an example, so the emission from the phone, or even now the sun, is putting out toxic, harmful EMF fields, solar and 5 and 6G, that the harmonizer with the LifeWave patches now is creating a type of Faraday cage or a type of energetic sort of rebuff, much like the Earth's magnetic field would in a solar shield, and just kind of slips around and then gets grounded. And so that's why I'm like, now we're seeing that the harmonizer with the LifeWave patches are becoming like more and more important for today, for what we're experiencing. That's not just from the beast, but it's also from the heavens and the energetics of chaos for our DNA. So it's aging us, creating more stress in our biofield. And so I've created a couple like specials. I hope they're special to you, where if you want, as an introduction to oral scans or an introduction to body scans, which a lot of the oral scans patients are doing, if you just want to an intro to it, if you buy the family pack of EMF harmonizers, I'm going to give you for free either an intro oral scan for free or an intro to body scan. And what that looks like is, so we'll give you what we call a 4-quad scan, and the images and the instructions will all be sent to you. And then we'll test and give you an overview of what's going on, what quadrant or what section of your mouth. And I know we did this with Michael and we didn't tell him until later, but where we found he had some issues in the front tooth, and we found it like having some biofilm in it before we even talked about it, maybe 3-4 months before we talked about it. So we can get you that scan for free. Mm-hmm. And also, if you want a body scan, like if you have an issue with a cardiac issue or a gastrointestinal issue or a kidney issue or a reproductive issue or a brain issue anywhere in the body, then we'll also send you instructions to get that scan for free also. And so either one of those, and you can apply in the disease discovery application and just let us know and we'll look at it. And then we'll send you an email and get you hooked up till we can get you those for free.
Yeah. Now, Ryan is saying that he believes that they could live the life of the Amish. Do you live the life of the Amish in 5G territory? So the Amish usually are separated from all of our technology, and that's one of the reasons why they can do that. So if you're in this technological field, and they are to a certain extent as well, but through their practices, I think they are pretty healthy. But you can do that. You just have to have a little extra to help you through. That's what I do. I stay super healthy. I get occasionally little things come up and I'm like, okay, I got to treat it with this. I got to treat it with that. I'm sure the Amish have some natural remedies they do as well. So it's not all about just eating right. There's also, and every culture throughout time has had natural remedies. So this is natural stuff. It's not some kind of, biohack or something. It's the real stuff.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing with the LifeWave patches. So, even the Amish probably could benefit from it. I know that Amish. I have some friends that are, not doctors, but they crack bones. What are the crack bones? Chiropractor. Yeah, the chiropractors. And it's in their family. So their family, they haven't, their children haven't, and their grandchildren have not been vaccinated. So they live, on the edge, and they have Amish because they trust them because they live a certain way. Amish come to them, but still, even the Amish get certain types of supplements, if you will, from my friends, and they've looked at LifeWave, they've used LifeWave too, so they're considering giving it to the Amish, so and helping them with it because it is something that helps, as we found out.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
So if you're still living within this world, so Amish, bring their products into market with everybody else, whether they're driving cars or whether they're driving the buggies or whatever. I love to go to the Amish food stores. They're fantastic, but they have to come into where all these frequencies are, and they're starting to suffer the same things that we do. So yeah, I agree with you. It would be great. I've thought about it myself, to completely isolate myself from the rest of the world so I could be a lot healthier. But God was like, no, you got to get back in there, help these people, wake them up. And I was like, okay. So yeah, there are different things that we can use, but you want to stay with the natural as much as possible. And that's what the intuitive wellness products are.
Yeah. The biophotonic. And I don't think the Amish would be, because the cell towers have a reach of miles, and these things are located everywhere, and they're really toxic. And so you have to use, well, I recommend both the EMF Harmonizer for the cell and the plasma, but the redistribution with the LifeWave is very special. And when you're able to see where it goes with this precise muscle testing, it's amazing. So if you can do them both, that's great. Matter of fact, I think if you sign up under Denise right now, under Michael's team, if you're interested, then you get a free cell harmonizer as well.
So someone's asking about pets. Are these products available for pets?
Definitely. Pets, you can use the supplements with your pets, and you can use less because they're created. Animals have a lower biophotonic emission. So men and women have the highest coherence of light form in the known universe. Way to go, God. And so at that part of his image we have, and animals have a much lower coherent frequency. So the nutrients actually work better for animals because they're created for men's biophotonic signature. And so it's, patches work really well. Of course, you can't.
People use them with their animals.
Patch your dog up. Denise does that all the time. She patches everything, and I get to test it also. Yeah, EMF patch and the EMF, your house, your cell phones, your Wi-Fi, your electric box, all that with the EMF harmonizer. And but use the supplements. I love like the intuitive immunity, and even a little beet in your pet food. Fantastic. Matter of fact, that's one of the things, as you were talking about the Amish, they use raw product, like raw cheese that's fermented, for months, raw milk, raw cream. And that's what the intuitive immunity is mimicking, because it's from raw colostrum, air dried. And so it's beautiful for the immunity. You can use that on your animals in a little bit in their food, goes a long ways.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good point.
All right, Raphael. Thanks a lot. Always good. Always pleasure. Good stuff.
My pleasure. Great to be with you.
Everybody loves it.
Love you guys.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, everyone. Talk to you later.
See you later.